Welcome back to Growth Over Easy. Today we're talking about why feedback, when you're giving feedback to your partner, they might be reacting to it like it's criticism. Why that happens and what you can do to start to shift that. Before we get into that, if you are someone who struggles with exploding and then shutting down, especially when you get home after work, go ahead and check the link in the show notes and download my field guide for leaders. It will explain that explode shutdown cycle and tell you what you can do to start to shift the dynamic. I recently had a couples session, and in that session, the husband asked, how do I explain that? Yes, I know I criticize. Sometimes I say things that are critical. Sometimes I say things that are mean, but sometimes I'm genuinely giving feedback and I'm trying to be helpful. But she seems to receive it as criticism no matter how I deliver it. And he was asking, like, how do I get this through to her that I am not criticizing? I am trying to explain, I am trying to help. And maybe you've done this too, where there have been times you've said things to your partner that were unkind. Maybe you've name called. Maybe you've said you're just like your mother. Maybe you have criticized how they do something and you're aware that it's criticism. But then there are probably other times where you're genuinely trying to help. You're trying to explain something. You're trying to highlight something. You want them to understand something, but you find that you get the exact same reaction. There are two reasons that this happens that stand out to me from my perspective in a relationship. Now, the first reason has to do with your conduct. And I tell people this all the time when it comes to communication. Yes, content matters. What you're saying matters, but just as much how you're saying it matters. In a romantic relationship, your conduct when you are explaining something, your conduct when you are giving feedback, that matters because words carry energy, they carry emotion, and they either repel your partner or they are received by your partner. And this has to do with where you're coming from when you deliver those words. So if you imagine yourself walking down the street and someone starts walking towards you very forcibly, like they're coming at you, they've quickened their pace, you're likely going to maybe stop, maybe put your hands up, maybe even say, hey, hey, get away. Like you're going to react, you're going to get defensive and ready to protect yourself. Maybe you're primed to go into fight or flight. You're either going to deal with it right there on the street or you're going to run away. The same thing happens in communication when we come at our partner from a place of anger, frustration, defensiveness. They're going to put their guard up because even if the words coming out of our mouth are not unkind, if the energy behind those words is energy of anger, energy of frustration, the tone is harsh, they're going to get defensive. They're going to put their hands up. Even if they're not aware of it, their nervous system is going to say, this is a threat, and then respond to the threat, likely with their own survival response, which could be fighting, it could be withdrawing, it could be just completely shutting down. So the conduct, the energy behind your words, that matters because you can have really uncomfortable conversations with someone. And when those conversations come from a place of love, when they come from a grounded, a regulated place in your own system, they land differently. And just to break down emotions for a second, if you were to boil everything down on the emotional spectrum of humans, there is fear on one side and there is love on the other. And every time you speak to someone, every time you speak to your wife, every time you say something to your girlfriend, you are coming from a place of fear or coming from a place of love. Words rooted in fear are repelled, words rooted in love are received. And so your conduct matters in the conversation. Your conduct matters because they're going to feel your tone. They're going to, be able to tell if there's anger and frustration there versus love there. Even if it's not a conscious thing, they will unconsciously pick up on this. So it's very important before you give feedback, before you say something critical to your partner, where are you coming from? So that's the first piece. Now, the second piece, and this is what I brought up to my clients because this really matters. In a relationship where there is an absence of safety, any form of feedback will be imprinted as criticism. So you might be saying, I don't get the safety thing. And I've had guys push back on this before. They'll say, Lily, I don't understand what you mean by feeling safe or not. I've never hurt my girl. I've never laid hands on her. I take care of her. She has a roof over her head. Like they will tell me all these things that they're thinking of safety in. So sometimes thinking of it in terms of security can make a little more sense because when we say safety, if you hear a woman say, I just want to feel safe, yes, physical safety is always there. We want the physical safety. But likely she's talking about emotional safety. She wants to feel safe to have emotions around you. She wants to feel like she can say something to you and you're not going to bite her head off. She doesn't want to feel like she's walking on eggshells. So when you hear that term safety, don't just think, I am protecting you from people that might try to hurt you. I want you to think of the emotional safety, the emotional landscape of the relationship. What is intimacy like between you? Do you even have connection and intimacy in your relationship right now? Because if that's not present, if a relationship is absence of safety, then everything you say, whether it is critical or it is truly coming from a place of loving feedback, it's going to feel like criticism. Because when we look at this under the lens of polyvagal theory, we have, safety in the center. Below that, we've got that shutdown. And then above that, we've got activation. And then at the top of the activation, that's where we blow our window of tolerance. And if you are in a relationship that is chronically in activation, meaning the two of you, maybe there's a lot of stress and overwhelm, maybe the two of you are always kind of primed to go off on each other, to get into a fight, one of you shuts down. If that is constantly happening in a relationship, emotional safety is not there. Because if emotional safety was there, intimacy would be there. So that's a good temperature check on your relationship. Do you have intimacy? And I don't just mean sex, because you can have sex with someone and still be in activation, right? You're not necessarily on an emotional level with them. I'm saying, do you have connection with them? Does it feel like an exhale in your relationship when the two of you are together? Is there peace present between the two of you? Because in order to give feedback to someone in a place that it is received, you have to have that connection with them. If this is hitting, if this sounds like you're like, you know what? Yeah, every time I say something to my wife, she gets mad at me and I'm just trying to be helpful. I'm just giving feedback. Then I want you to spend the next week solely focused on increasing the level of emotional safety in the relationship. And it always starts with you. It means resourcing yourself, getting yourself to a place where you're grounded when you get home from work. You're not stressed out and overwhelmed. It's setting yourself up to be the tuning fork for your family, the tuning fork for your relationship, because other people are going to co-regulate to you. And if you want to be the leader of your pack, the leader of your household, even the leader of your company, and you want people to attune to you, you need to be the grounded system. You need to have vagal authority in your home, meaning when you walk through the door, people are like, oh, he's home. Yes, here comes some peace, not, oh no, he's home. I'm walking on eggshells. And I'm going to give you a very simple tool to start doing to help increase the safety in your own system. But I want you to remember this is just a tool. This tool may help you ground, but if you're someone who lives in chronic activation, there's more to work on there. You need to renegotiate some of the responses that are coming up in your nervous system. And so if you're already like, no, I know that there's some stuff there, reach out to me. My email's in the show notes. Shoot me an email. Let's connect and see if it's something I can help you with. Okay, back to the tool. So what I'd like you to do before you walk in the door at the end of the workday, you're still in your car. I want you just to take a second to just notice the car seat underneath your butt. Just notice it. And then notice it behind your shoulders. If it feels good to take a deep breath, go ahead and do that. And just notice where you are. And then I want you to look at the steering wheel. And I just want you to notice what the steering wheel looks like. And I want you to out loud say 5 things you notice about the steering wheel. Maybe it's the color of it. You can touch it, notice the texture of it. What you're doing, and the reason I'm having you do this, is you're just bringing yourself into the present moment, into the here and now. You're cutting out all of the noise that might be in your head after work, maybe even all the stress from the drive home and rush hour. You're coming into the here and now. And then I want you to wrap your arms around you like a self hug. So you have a hand on either shoulder and just alternate tap. Left hand, right hand, just tapping your shoulder, giving yourself a bit of a hug and tapping your shoulders. And just do this for about 60 seconds, longer if it feels good. And just be here right now. And then if it feels good after that, you can take a deep breath and then go inside. All you're doing is you're giving your system some access to safety, bringing yourself into the here and now before you walk through the door. Again, this is just a tool. This is to help you come back down. You can also use this if you find yourself getting into a fight with your partner. Say, hey, I'll be right now. I'll be right back. I just need to take a break for a second and go do this same practice. You can do it in another chair. You don't have to do it in your car. You can sit on the floor and do it. But it's just a tool to help your system find some safety. Again, in order to renegotiate those responses that continue to come up for you, if you're someone who explodes and then withdraws and shuts down, or you just notice a lot of tension in your relationship and a lot of turmoil in your home, my email's in the show notes. Reach out to me and let's jump on a call and discuss what nervous system work could do for your relationship. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a great week. I hope you choose growth.